I have been absolutely consumed by dying like the beast, and I absolutely plan on letting it continue to digest me. I have been playing this game for the past 5 days straight, and this game has an absolute hold on me. Almost as if Kyle Crane's meaty hands have wrapped around me. Holy shit, those are some meaty claws. As you can imagine, I have resisted very little. What also has me gripped is my legal obligation to tell you that this video is sponsored by Techland. Thank you once again for sponsoring another one of my videos. You guys are too good. You guys are too good. But keep doing it. I'm having a blast. And I know many of you are going to write off this review because it's a paid video. I completely understand that, but just hear me out. If you listen to the rest of the review, you'll know I ain't lying, and this game is incredible. I understand that my defense for honesty is just trust me, bro, but that's all I got. Truth be told, I have legitimately loved playing this game and would have made a video on it regardless, even if Techland had no involvement in my process. For some context, I played this game early back when it was just a 2-hour demo, and holy shit have they made some massive ass improvements. I'll get into those more later on in the video, but for now I'd like to get to what you came here for. Firstly, I have to say the greatest thing about this game is hands down the combat. When I saw this game's first teaser trailer, the only thought I had was, please, please, oh please let me live out my fantasy of turning zombies into paint. Yeah, that's all I want. I'm a simple man. While I obviously wanted the story to be good and the parkour needed to flow well, when I took a deep look at myself, I couldn't be fucked. I wanted the act of killing zombies in this game to be the most fun part of it. And holy shit ass, it is the best in the franchise. Every time I hacked down a zombie with an axe or pulverized its skull with a hammer, I man-giggled. I'm not even kidding. The devs at Dying Light have put on a masterclass on how to make zombie and human combat the most fun. Even though I found myself fighting the same exact enemies throughout the entire run of the game, I never once got bored. And by same enemies, I mean the slow shamblers, not those fucking monsters. Oh boy, I will get to you in a second. Killing zombies in this game was so fun that even though resources were very scarce and there is weapon durability, I was actively wasting resources I had worked so hard to acquire because dismembering these creatures was so fun. I would see a horde and go out of my way to kill all of them. Was the loot I gained worth it? No. Were the giggles I acquired worth it? Yes. This is honestly far more important than you would think because the whole game centers around you collecting cool weapons and gear so you can use that shit to kill more zombies, and if killing them was boring, even in the slightest, you were probably not interested in going into those dangerous dark zones to get that high tier loot. That was not an issue here, my friends. I often put myself in danger just for the possibility of building a flamethrower, and when I did, holy hot shit, that was the most fun. Now, back when I played the demo, I was more or less satisfied with the gunplay in this game. It wasn't boring by any means, it just was simply not as fun as melee weapons in the game. But after playing the full game, ooh, my opinion has changed. The guns in this game rock all the ass and dick. I was scraping by to collect as much ammunition as I possibly could just so I could continue to use them. And believe me, I would completely waste all of the bullets I had worked so hard to get just because I liked watching the devastating impact they had on the zombie hordes. No matter how many times I paid for that decision, I never changed. Furthermore, when we're talking about the sandbox in this game, I often would actually use zombie hordes to my advantage to kill other human enemies in the game. This would be like there are UV lights protecting some of these armed guards, so I would turn off the UV lights and let the zombies in and just have them fight it out, and then I would collect all the loot after the carnage was over. I had to do this a few times because I often wasted every single magazine I had on useless hordes, so yeah, I had to take a break at some point. While the melee combat is incredibly satisfying and the gunplay is really engaging, neither of those factors, for me, holds a candle to when Crane goes into beast mode. I fucking love this mechanic. It's also not as rare as you would think it is either. I was able to enjoy this feature quite a lot. It never overstayed its welcome, and it wasn't happening so much that it turned the game into daycare. Techland honestly struck the perfect balance when it came to how much Crane turned into the Hulk. To be honest, I kind of wish it happened more and lasted longer, but that's definitely my monkey brain talking. I know many players don't have the same rotted attention span as I do. Throwing giant-ass boulders or propane tanks and literally ripping through the chimeras like butter was my favorite part of the game. hands down. Now, I know I just said chimera like everyone here knows what I mean, but I promise I'll elaborate later on these behemoths. Now, one issue I can see many players having is that it does absolutely turn the game into easy mode. In fact, most, if not all of the boss fights I encountered were beaten using this mechanic. I understand that concern, but for me, I never minded it. Having Crane become Kratos for a split second engaged my lizard brain like no other game has done before. Circling back to the chimeras, these are essentially boss fights in the game, and they are really intense. The way this game sets up each chimera makes you recognize how difficult and stressful these fights are going to be. They all require a different approach for fighting, and they put up a pretty good fight. All to be essentially turned into testosterone. Keep juicing, brother. Now, as much as it pains me to say it, let's take a break from talking about the combat, blood, gore, visceral violence for a second, and let's talk about the more polarizing aspect of this game. The something that everyone was a little bit worried about, and that is the story. The narrative. For transparency's sake, I was not super impressed with the previous game's stories. For the most part, I think they were fine and serviceable, but I can only remember like a few characters and some of the emotional moments. But with Dying Like the Beast, this game is kind of odd, in a good way. Confused? Me too. How did you get into my house? When I started this game, I had low expectations for story. Like I said before, I only wanted to turn zombies into paste. Everything else was a bonus in my mind. But it was almost like the writers of this game were living inside of my head. Please get out. They opted for a more, on the surface, simple story. Is there some nefarious government ploy to undermine some tyrannical warlord, or do you have to find your sister all while fighting your own infection? No. This game's story can be described as, hi, my name is Kyle Crane. This here is the Baron. Very bad man. He tortured me for 12 years.
I'd be doing experiments
or something, so I would like to remove his head from his body instead of being attached, and then I will kill anyone that gets in my way. That is honestly perfect. I love the more simple approach to this game, and for newcomers especially, it will be very easy to jump into. While at first glance, the story seems like a simple revenge quest, and for the most part it is. But as you progress through the campaign, shit starts to unfold, and I have to say with full certainty, this game's story is my favorite out of the three. Because I didn't have to maintain some geopolitical jargon in the back of my head, it allowed me to fully sink into the world and the side characters. And by the way, the side characters in this game are really well written. We have Olivia, which, new baddie alert. Let's add her to the collection, who is so damn likable and is basically your main point of contact throughout the game. So if she was annoying or poorly written in any way, that would have been a nightmare. You also have a character called the Sheriff, who at first I didn't like simply because she was so mean to Daddy Crane. But as you learn more about her, you realize that she is putting up this hard exterior just to cope with the fact that she is losing so many people and is barely holding it together. And she ended up being one of my favorite characters by the end. But for me, my absolute favorite side character was this scientist here. I won't go into too much detail as to why, but you should know his dialogue exchange with Crane is some of the funniest in the entire game.
Guess I'm a one-trick pony, huh? Well, maybe I am. What can I say? I am who I am. But moving on.
But the standout character for me, and this is going to make y'all very happy, was Crane. This man just oozes charisma, and I am so glad we got to hear Roger Craig Smith reprise his role as Crane. There's just something about his character that was both badass and also a little funny. And it's not like they butchered his character so he could be some bloodthirsty maniac that also happens to make jokes. He never lost his sassy ass tone when he spoke to people. Some of his scenes in the game were legitimately funny as hell, and it was such a relief that they didn't just bring Kyle Crane back for fan service. They actually put the time and energy into making him a well-rounded character. With all the characters being so well written, I was very conflicted during my playthrough of the game. Because on the one hand, yeah, I wanted to turn the Baron into soup. But on the other, I found myself constantly pursuing side quests in this game and losing track of time. The side quests in this game were legitimately fun, for the most part. Yeah, this shit was terrifying, and I would be fine to never touch it again. On the topic of side quests, I found most of the side quests to be really fun, and if they were more on the tedious side, they were at the very least rewarding. I kept getting off track and getting lost throughout the whole game, and this was the main goal of the devs. Not even just strictly talking all of the side quests I could possibly handle, but the map itself is both intimidating and inviting at the same time. There are plenty of sections of the map that give you a warning when you enter that you are very underleveled and shit's about to get real, but I would enter into these places and explore anyway. Mainly because, and this shit is so cool, you would be exploring an abandoned apartment complex and you would find a note with a drawing of an area with an X over a certain point in the drawing, with no other details. So the game doesn't force you to pursue these little hidden treasures, but it definitely preys on the fact that it's going to linger in your lizard brain until you find that little hidden gem. Exploring the map can be done with a car, but if I'm being honest, I am almost never using the car to travel because I only ever utilized the vehicle as a big hammer to splat zombies. And also, traveling on foot was so much fun that I often would avoid driving cars because I liked parkouring so much. On the topic of parkouring, I struggled during the early part of my gameplay, but as I continued to traverse the beautifully ugly world, I got better and better, and this looped back into my desire to explore even more. The way the map is set up is essentially like a big parkour playground. Everything you can see inside is pretty much climbable, and if it doesn't look climbable, there's probably a way that it is climbable and you're just not paying attention enough. This ties into the beauty of the sandbox, whether it's the combat with the zombies, traversing the world, leveling up your character, or pursuing side quests. I have to say I was having all of the fun imaginable. But that came crashing down when I remembered that I am contractually obligated to show you the knights in this game. I have talked about this in the past, but holy shit, they took the Knights in Dying Light 2 suck personal as hell. They have maxed out the adrenaline you get from being chased through the night, and I hate it. That may sound like a bad thing, and it is for me, because I have a really hard time playing horror games, and the nighttime in this game is a completely different beast. Yeah, I bet you didn't think we got puns around here. I still got it. Every time I would check my watch and notice that it was going to be nighttime in like an hour, I would beeline to the nearest safe house so I didn't have the misfortune of getting caught out in the middle of the night. And this was an effective strategy until you lost track of time and you realized that after you finished a side quest, you are miles away from any safe house. And in the next 30 seconds, all of that upgraded weapons you acquired and skill points you achieved don't mean jack shit. This honestly caused me to want to create more and more safe houses throughout the map, going out of my way to establish a bunker and be able to have a contingency plan in case I got caught out in the woods with no backup. This was an effective strategy for a while until Techland came into my room and demanded I traumatize myself. The volatiles in this game are really scary because they are really smart. Even if they don't see you, it's like they smell you. You could be hiding in a bush and for some reason the volatiles will slowly make their way to you until that little leaf you've been hiding behind just ain't gonna cut it any longer. And when you get into a chase, holy hell, it's hard to get rid of these predators. Once these bad boys lock onto you, you have one of two decisions to make. Either you display some of the most expert level decision making possible, or you die violently. The dev team has achieved exactly what they set out to do, which many of you will be happy about. Not me. Nope. I have changed the color of my seat. I've been shitting myself so much. I can't keep that in. The devs over at Techland really know how to create tension. For example, there is one mission where you have been told that there is a mutant variant that has been ripping through the Baron's men, and you need to track it down and kill it. As you approach this beast, you see more and more remains of the Baron's men, and you start to get this uneasy feeling in your stomach. Whatever this thing is gonna be a problem. There is another side quest that I hinted at earlier in which you need to kill a cave full of these infected in order to clear the conscience of a man responsible for putting them in there. But you soon realize that these zombies that were once people were here since the beginning of the outbreak. They weren't even sick. Well, except for one. And they were living in this cave for what I would assume is for months at a time before that one infected person slowly but surely infected all of the others. I was actually surprised at how scary and unsettling this game was. It's not all doom and gloom. There is some funny ass shit that happens.
This is Echo 7, over.
We caught the freaks who attacked the patrol. Where have you been?
I was taking a dump.
Whatever.
And if you want the simplest review possible, here it is. If you like the Dying Light franchise, specifically the first game, you are going to like this one. I obviously couldn't show you everything that happens in this game. And yes, it does get wild. Oh, look at that. That shit looks kind of crazy. I really needed to talk about this game. And it is out now, so you should absolutely check it out yourself. I will not lie here. I am willing to stake my entire reputation on this one game when I say It is the best in the franchise. Dying Light the Beast is my new favorite Dying Light game. I know, that might be a little sacrilegious to many of you Dying Light 1 diehards out there, but if you give this game a chance, you might agree with me. If not, then you are part of the other 90% that rarely agrees with me on anything. Yeah, it turns out I have total dog shit takes all the time. Dying Light the Beast. Available now.